Hello, and welcome to the Frank D. Ashburn Chapel. I can still remember the way these words rolled off Elijah's tongue in chapel in the services of my freshman year. I wanted to take a moment today to talk about the chapel and the state of mind that comes with it. Over the last 4 years, I've been told from many different faculty members that the chapel is the center of the Brooks universe. As my days here become numbered, I've come around to the fact this is a special place with many special memories. I remember my freshman year when Hanul announced his homosexuality in his chapel speech, standing in this exact spot. I remember listening to Jack Bance's oratory speech last spring. After it must have been the most excruciatingly difficult few months of his life, he managed to bravely deliver a gut-wrenching speech about the aftermath of his father's injuries in the Boston bombing. When he finished speaking, his dad rose from his seat, and they met each other in the walkway in a loving embrace that I'm sure had been a long, long time since they connected on such an emotional level. I remember, as I'm sure you all do, we were here that day, Miss McLaughlin's speech about the loss of her mother. To be honest, I do not remember the particulars of that speech, but what I can recall was the level of intimacy and confidence that she spoke with. Mrs. McLaughlin walks the walk when it comes to the spiritual development that we so often talk about in this space. I personally challenge all faculty members who plan on giving chapel speeches in the future to open up past the teacher-student relationship and confide in the student body the way she did that day. I think you will be pleased with the outcome. I remember my freshman year when Mr. Hale pulled me and Chris Thomas out of English class. He then proceeded to walk us down to the chapel and into the freshman section, which is right over here for all the newcomers. Keep in mind, we had no idea what was going on. The whole walk, we were talking about our upcoming breaks, the book we were reading, and other pleasant things. Then all of a sudden, we stopped walking, and he pointed down to one of the pews, staring us right back in the eye with the carvings of XT and CT, and in between what it was, well, as Mr. Hale put it, a phallic symbol. Let's just say we spent the whole next morning scratching the carvings away with a piece of sandpaper, or at least I did. Chris slept through. I remember sitting right there in an empty chapel one dreary October morning of my sophomore year. I sat with my head in my hands as Dusty patted my back. It was the morning I found out that Harry's dad had passed away. Sorry. For the most part, we sat in silence. My mind raced, yet I could not come up with anything worthy of speech. I was utterly disoriented, trying to comprehend the finality of death. Dusty knows I do not believe in God, and yet I believe he led me to the chapel that morning because this is a space of open-mindedness. There is no other place on campus where the community as a whole is asked to nurture such mature thought. In retrospect, it is quite incredible the level of thought that a group of 380 14 to 18-year-olds, and of course the exception of a few 19-year-olds, are asked to think on. It is a level of total open-mindedness. We are expected to accept people of all religions, look past the petty restraints of racism, sexism, and homophobia. We are asked to send positive energy to those in need and told to be agents of peace in an undeniably violent world. These are concepts that individually have been causing violence and destruction since the dawn of our existence, and to put them as a whole just simply has not been done on a national level. This year has really put these ideologies to the test. The different services in the Frick, auditorium, outside, or even this newly renovated space have presented the challenge to our community of carrying on the level of open-mindedness that we had in the old chapel space. By no means is Brooks perfect. Of course I could stand here and lift off dozens of suggestions on how to improve student life, the linear guideline many of our classes follow, as well as athletics and the arts. What I'm talking about blows these flaws out of the water. We have met the insignificant challenge of adjusting our chapel service locations and let open-mindedness spread throughout all aspects of life here at Brooks. Call me overly optimistic, but even on a bad day, when the dangers of depression, loneliness, and anger seep into the seams of our relationships, I thoroughly believe that we are a community of love and peace. For each memory I have of the chapel, I have 1,000 more in Thorne, the Link, the dining hall, or the sports field. In general, people are supported in their endeavors here. I came into Brooks considering myself an athlete and a student, but I know that I'm leaving so much more. On any random lunch, one could walk into the dining hall and take notice of the positive vibes from around the room. Sure, it may be messy and loud, but I'd have it no other way. It's the little things that'll stick with me. Sitting outside on a sunny afternoon, watching people scuttle down Main Street, talking to Sue about her annual cruise over spring break as she wraps my sandwich, or watching the freshmen harmlessly flirt with one another at the overflowing round tables. I'll remember walking down to the athletic center before practice and getting my loot from Chris Ragosa. Note to the athletic department, make sure that guy sticks around, because he's meant for big things. Playing soccer here at Brooks will always be some of my fondest yet most painful memories. Of course, winning the ISL title my sophomore year is one of the most pleasant memories I've had here at Brooks. We were playing down at St. Paul's in our last ISL game. Alex Wagner had just netted his second goal of the game to give us a 2-0 lead. As he ran over to celebrate with the bench, Willie pulled out his phone, stared in disbelief for a few moments, then announced that Rivers had lost to Roxbury Latin, meaning we had clinched the ISL title. As the sun came down on that crisp autumn day, I felt this feeling in my gut that had never been there before, and is yet to return. Of course, some of the lows have been undeniably painful. Sitting in my dimly lit room one Wednesday night after a 2-1 loss to St. George's, just trying to comprehend why our team was not clicking, why we were not scoring, why kids weren't having fun. However, by the end of the season, I felt the same each year. My worries with our record seemed to dwindle, and my love for the brothers who were by my side through thick and thin is what I will take away from playing soccer here at Brooks. The Link is another place that has forever cemented its academic roots into my mind. I can still recall my freshman year history class and Miss Schwartz, and of course the crush I had on her. You all may laugh, but I know for a fact that I wasn't the only one. If every person on this planet were as passionate about something as Mr. Hale is about the semicolon, then this world would definitely be a better place. Mr. Charpentier, I cherished every moment in your junior English class. Through positive reinforcement, you gave me the courage to consider myself a writer and a poet. Whether I enjoyed it or not, the classes I have taken here at Brooks played a significant role in almost every aspect of my life. Of course, I have struggled through an inconceivable amount of doubles by counting the minutes to lunch. The number grows daily. But more importantly, I've learned to believe in my opinions, trust my intuition, and of course, never be absolutely sure of myself. To me, Brooks is Thorn, and Thorn is Brooks. I simply cannot imagine living in any other dorm with any other group of people. The first day of freshman year, I can still vividly recall the annual first dorm meeting. To start the meeting off, Mr. Jones, Willie Waters, Mr. Graham, and Mr. Flanagan, none of whom seemed to stick around very long, gave everyone the lowdown on the basic rules and expectations. As soon as they left, Gilly Callow ran over and shut the door. All was silent until Alexi Santos stood up, looked around the room, and with that shit-eating grin of his, said, "Welcome to the real Thorn, boys." I was sold. Never once have I even considered another dorm. Have there been times when the cluttered halls, frigid showers, or dungeon-like basement ticked me off? Of course. But what one must understand is that it's all about the people. I live with a group of kids that I would do anything for. Through suspensions and family issues, sickness and depression, late nights and early mornings, we have stuck together. So at this point, you may be wondering what any of this has to do with the chapel. So let me explain. I'm not a religious person and never have been. I believe we create our own fate through a blend of spirituality and science. I do not read the prayers nor sing the hymns, and to be honest, I prefer to see a symbol of peace there rather than the cross. But what we learn in this chapel is unparalleled in any other aspect of life here. For the graduating class of 2015, do your best to remember that wherever you end up, peace, tolerance, equality, and open-mindedness will lead you to a happy state of mind and therefore a fulfilled life. To the rest of you, I know how hard it can be to put things in perspective when all you can think about is classes, sports, friends, and relationships. Just try to continue to open your mind and soak up as much information as possible. We all have been granted this unbelievable opportunity to help those less fortunate than us. This is a place I will always remember, and for what it's worth, I've loved it all. Thank you.